Welcome to Econ Horizon. Have you ever wondered what the most corrupt countries are in 2024, and how corruption affects their societies? As we stand on the brink of 2024, corruption remains a pervasive issue across the globe, casting a shadow over the societal fabric and hampering growth, governance, and social order. This issue is not confined within the borders of any single nation. It's a global challenge affecting every corner of our world. Subscribe and hit bell icon. Comment your thoughts. In this journey, we aim to shed light on the 10 most corrupt countries of 2024, delving deep into the roots of corruption, its impacts, and the lessons we can draw from these nations. We'll be exploring this in a countdown format, starting from the 10th most corrupt country and working our way to the top of the list. This exploration is about unearthing the uncomfortable truths, understanding the complexities, and fostering a dialogue for change. So, without further ado, let's dive into the countdown, starting with number 10. At number 10, we have Equatorial Guinea. Located in Central Africa, this nation boasts a rich tapestry of island and mainland territories. However, beneath this vibrant facade lies a darker reality: corruption. This persistent issue has gnawed at the core of this nation, severely impacting its economy and leading to consecutive years of economic recession. Corruption in Equatorial Guinea is a multi-headed beast, affecting various aspects of society. It doesn't discriminate between the rich and the poor, the powerful and the powerless. It permeates every stratum, from the highest echelons of power to the grassroots level. The result is a country struggling under the weight of its own potential, its growth stunted by the chains of corruption. Unfortunately, Equatorial Guinea is but one example in a sea of nations grappling with this issue. As we delve deeper into the list, we'll uncover more such stories. Moving on to the next country on our list. Number 9 on our list is Haiti. This Caribbean nation is no stranger to the specter of corruption. Its leaders face serious allegations of embezzling millions of dollars, a devastating blow to a country already grappling with economic challenges. But the corruption doesn't stop there. The police force, the very institution tasked with maintaining law and order, is also accused of gaining power through unlawful methods. Such practices not only undermine the rule of law but also erode the public's trust in the institutions meant to protect them. With every dollar siphoned off through corruption, the nation's development is stunted, and the disparity between the haves and the have-nots grows wider. As we continue to explore the dark side of power, it becomes clear that corruption leaves in its wake a trail of broken dreams and lost opportunities. Next, we head to the Far East. Coming in at number 8, we find North Korea. A nation shrouded in secrecy, North Korea is a paradoxical blend of rigid control and pervasive corruption. This tightly knit country is under the unyielding grasp of the Kim dynasty, a ruling family that has managed to preserve its power for over 7 decades. The Kim family's iron-fisted rule has not only fostered an environment of widespread corruption, but it has also isolated North Korea from the global community. This isolation has further allowed the ruling family to maintain its grip on power, often at the expense of the North Korean people. From a lack of basic human rights to allegations of state-sanctioned public executions, the extent of corruption in North Korea is as profound as it is disturbing. As we explore the dark side of power, it's clear that North Korea's situation is a stark reminder of corruption's insidious nature. Now, we travel to the heart of North Africa. At number 7, we have Libya. Libya, a country rich in history and culture, finds itself in the throes of political instability, largely due to the pervasive issue of corruption. This North African nation, known for its vast deserts and ancient ruins, has been in a state of flux since the fall of its longtime ruler, Muammar Gaddafi. Since then, the country has been grappling with power struggles and political chaos, with different factions vying for control. Corruption has seeped into the very foundation of Libyan society, exacerbating the political instability. It has infiltrated various sectors, from the oil industry, the backbone of Libya's economy, to infrastructure projects. A striking example is the recent catastrophic floods that ravaged parts of the country, with allegations of corruption tied to dam projects. The situation in Libya serves as a stark reminder of how corruption can undermine a country's political stability and socio-economic development. Moving on to the next country on our list. Number 6 on our list is Pakistan. A country brimming with potential, Pakistan's economic performance has been severely hampered due to increasing corruption. This corruption is largely a product of weak institutions, which in turn discourage economic growth. It's a vicious cycle that continues to keep the country from reaching its full potential. In addition to this, there's a noticeable lack of political will to put an end to corruption. The country's bureaucracy-based administration further complicates the issue, contributing to the inefficiency and corruption. With low public sector salaries and high inflation, the temptation to engage in corrupt practices is high. What's more, government agencies, which are responsible for allocating the nation's public resources, are often blamed for the spread of corruption. Even the law enforcement department, which is supposed to ensure law and order, is unfortunately considered one of the most corrupt organizations in the country. Next, we head to the Arabian Peninsula. Coming in at number 5, we find Yemen. This nation, which was among the last to abolish slavery, still grapples with accusations of ongoing servitude. Yemen's struggles are further compounded by a decade-long civil war that has left it as one of the world's poorest nations, with a GDP per capita of just $891. The roots of this conflict are entangled with corruption, which fueled the protests that preceded the war, and continues to play a central role in the ongoing strife. The corruption in Yemen is not an isolated issue. It permeates every level of society, distorting governance, undermining economic stability, and exacerbating social disparities. This persistent corruption, coupled with the devastating impact of the civil war, has left Yemen in a state of profound crisis, one that demands urgent attention and action. Now we travel to South America. At number 4, we have Venezuela. A land blessed with vast oil reserves, Venezuela's wealth paradoxically contrasts with its low GDP per capita of just $3,052. The discrepancy can be traced back to the long shadows of corruption that darken the corridors of Venezuela's government. Allegations abound that the administration systematically diverts oil revenues for private gain, a practice that siphons off the nation's wealth and accelerates economic decline. The corruption doesn't stop at economic malfeasance, though. The government is also accused of fueling the illicit drug trade, a dangerous game that undermines social stability and security. The impact of these corrupt practices is far-reaching, sparking political unrest and deepening societal divides. The tale of Venezuela is a stark reminder that corruption is not just a political problem, but a societal one that can cripple a nation's progress. Moving on to the top 3 most corrupt countries. Number 3 on our list is South Sudan. Despite being one of the world's youngest nations, South Sudan is sadly not a stranger to the dark shadow of corruption. This issue has infiltrated all levels of society and government, from high-ranking officials to everyday workers. Corruption here is not just about money or power, it's a matter of survival. When resources are scarce and survival is a daily struggle, corruption becomes a tool for survival, further entrenching the cycle of poverty. The country's GDP per capita stands at a meager $326, painting a bleak picture of the economic conditions the citizens grapple with. It's an unfortunate reality that the wealth of this young nation is being siphoned off through corrupt practices, exacerbating the already significant conflict and poverty the country faces. As we delve deeper into the dark side of power, we find that corruption is not just an issue of governance but a symptom of deeper socioeconomic issues. Next we head to the Levant. Coming in at number 2, we find Syria. This Middle Eastern nation steeped in history and culture is unfortunately grappling with a long-standing conflict which has torn apart its social fabric, economy, and overall quality of life. And at the heart of this conflict, corruption is a predominant force, exacerbating the already dire situation. From the bustling streets of Damascus to the war-torn neighborhoods of Aleppo, corruption is rife, permeating all spheres of Syrian society. It's not just limited to the high-ranking officials or the wealthy elite. It trickles down to municipal workers, local businesses, and even the military, creating a cycle of bribery, fraud, and power abuse that seems almost impossible to break. With a GDP per capita of just $533, the economic impact of this rampant corruption is palpable. The people of Syria deserve better. And finally, we come to the most corrupt country in 2024. Topping our list at number 1 we have Somalia. This East African nation, despite its abundant natural resources and strategic geopolitical position, is unfortunately synonymous with the term corruption. From its central bank to its smallest local communities, corruption is an unwelcome inhabitant that has infiltrated every sector of society. Economic hardship is a daily reality for many Somalis, with the country's GDP per capita standing at a meager $544. This is a clear indication of how deeply corruption has eaten into the nation's wealth. Somalia's central bank, which should serve as a bulwark against financial mismanagement, has not been spared either. It has witnessed significant withdrawals for private purposes, further deepening the country's economic woes. The effects of corruption in Somalia are not only economic but also social, as it erodes trust, fuels inequality, and hinders development. Indeed, to restore Somalia's glory, a significant turnaround is needed. And that concludes our countdown of the most corrupt countries in 2024. Corruption remains a global challenge, impacting nations and societies at various levels. From the economic recession in Equatorial Guinea to the political unrest in Venezuela, the shadow of corruption casts a long and damaging shadow. The stories of Haiti, North Korea, Libya, Pakistan, Yemen, South Sudan, Syria, and Somalia illustrate the dire consequences of corruption, revealing a mosaic of nations grappling with this pervasive issue. Yet, as we've seen, corruption is not an invincible foe. It can be combated with systemic transformations, ethical leadership, and empowered communities. It requires us to confront uncomfortable truths and to strive for a more ethical and transparent global community. In every corner of the globe, there are people, organizations, and movements working tirelessly to challenge corruption, to bring about change, and to shed light on the dark side of power. This exploration is part of that endeavor. Thank you for joining us on this exploration. We hope it has shed some light on the dark side of power and the urgent need for change. Subscribe and hit the bell icon.